The other big trend, of course, in business is the whole migration to the cloud, and that's one of these things. I've been going on this cloud journey now for the last 2.5 years, and I've spent a lot of time talking to our customers, and I walk into a room full of CIOs and their attitude is, oh, this bloody guy's trying to take my job away. And so at first I said, no, that's not the case. Now my opening line is, you will succumb, because they will. The truth is that there's certain things that are not scalable for individual organizations. The best example of that is security. Security for the IT environment is proportional. The amount of effort you have to put in it is proportional not to the size of your organization, but to the size of the threat vector. And the threat vector keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And to manage that, you need a very large workforce. We have 300 to 400 security professionals who manage our operations. Now, we have no option but to have those people, because they're absolutely intrinsic to our operation. But for the average organization, they can neither afford, nor could they get hold of the skills, nor do they want to spend that sort of money on security. So they will inevitably be outsourcing more and more components of their computing environment into a cloud environment. And that's a fairly simple story in that sense. They will succumb. Then the second aspect is how you deliver the cloud services. And cloud services are about a combination of the data center and the network. You've got to bring the two together. And the other line I always use in that, when Bill Clinton was elected, his slogan was, "It's the economy, stupid." Well, in cloud services, it's the network, stupid. So those two things do come together to create a new service environment. So I think I'll stop there. That's kind of the preface of what I want to cover, and I'm really happy to open it up. And sorry, the lady behind you.
Especially from that cloud jumping off point, I think it's very interesting that a lot of times I see a division between the IT industry and the telecoms industry, where it's compute versus connections or something. And in the cloud sense, I find that I was pulled into it a few years ago, 3 years ago or so, when people were building out cloud stories. The telecoms industry has so much to offer, and now cloud brokering brings it up a lot. The idea that what telecom brokering is in the clearing sense or messaging is something that can be applied. So as you're talking to people in that cloud context, or more broadly, do you find that as more and more companies are more connected, or to check the tires, you're going to have an M2M situation, and the connection really matters to do this sort of, in a sense, this wholesale retail model? Do you find more that as you work with people, you're bringing the communications into the fabric of their business, or do you find that they still kind of like or more comfortable with the telecom vendor as a supplier of type,
That's a very good question. I think the answer is ambivalent at the moment. There are a lot of customers we deal with. Take your M2M example. The energy metering people have very stringent SLAs around energy meters, somewhat unnecessarily. I think they've got too many engineers sitting around with too little to do, because power engineering is so boring. But they've got very stringent SLAs. So the obvious answer with a lot of the energy metering is just use the broadband access and pipe back. None of them will do that, because they say if you use an ordinary broadband access, they can't meet the SLAs. So some of them even are contemplating building their own networks. A lot of them have got into mesh networks, all of which are not actually meeting the SLAs that effectively, but we can deliver the service they need through our mobile network, and that's the focus we've been having. Now, the conversation has been a bit sort of narrow-minded to date, because they look at the cost of a 3G modem, and we had this conversation with them 2 years ago, and the cost of a 3G modem was $120. And they're saying, but I can get a WiMAX modem for $30, and therefore I can take 90 times a million customers. That's $90 million. I can build a WiMAX network and deliver the service like that. And this was a genuine conversation, by the way. By the time they built that network, the cost of the 3G modem will be $20, and the WiMAX modem will probably be $25 million. So, it's a kind of a lost. You've got to have a longer term view. But the network capability is absolutely critical. And for us, M2M is an interesting challenge, because you've got to put it on the same platform as you put your H2H, human-to-human communications. And but the characteristics of machines and people are not surprisingly somewhat different in terms of networking power. So, we've done a lot of work on that. We're working with the standards organizations to address some of those issues. And in fact, I'll be talking about some of them at 2 o'clock when I'm at the next session. Sorry.
And if you have a question, just introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Elizabeth Rachel, IDC.
Helpful.
Sorry, you had a question.
Glenn, I'm an analysis Mason. So you said that Telstra was Telstra is one of the most innovative and most risky CSP. When you just look at transformation, right? Nobody else do it, and nobody else wants to try to do it. Right? You guys are unique in that sense. You said that we were like a one-stop shop. You guys built a billing system that you managed to resell into Latin America and stuff like that. Then you said now it's third-party enablement. Is that third-party enablement?
Sorry, say this.
Third-party enablement.
Third-party enablement.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
So the third-party enablement you're talking about, is it a development ecosystem? Is it your retail channels, your sales channel? Is it your vendor?
It's primarily about application providers, but the enablement that we're looking for, some of it is network-based, some of it is things like messaging. But where it's got to be is in terms of two real critical factors: identity and billing. We've got to enable third-party billing, which is very risky, and we've always been somewhat averse to that because, especially for actual physical goods.
So this is all application development?
Sorry?
Application development.
It's about third-party applications on the network, but increasingly will also become about enabling organizations to contact their customers. So, both with data and network enablement, effectively changing the way organizations work in relation to their customers.